If I could get your attention. I went to an event the other day, and when I was there, they were doing all these things to get the crowd. They were like, raise your hand if you could hear me. And people were like, why is everybody raising their hand? So I'm not doing that stuff, but I appreciate you coming together and listening. All right, so I got to ask the question while I was putting all this stuff together, and the question was like, what is Blueprint? How does it change? Like, how is it different, let's say, from Growth Mastermind? What I'm trying to do is like make two different series here because I just think that they could serve different purpose, a different purpose each. So the first series, Growth Mastermind, that I put together and I will continue doing, really is meant to highlight some of like the best in the area and the best across the country in some ways, because it depends on the month. And I really am trying to get people that bring a different influence to you. I mean, ultimately, what I think about when I think about brokerage is we're a partner. And if you think about like you guys, every person in here, you own your own business, you're independent contractors. If you're a business owner, I think the best thing that we as a partner could bring to you, more so than everything else in life, is if we could bring you like really good influences where you could pick this piece of this person's business or that piece of this person's business and put that together and then say like, all right, like I own my own business. I want the best of this. I'm going to eliminate the stuff I don't like. I'm going to take, pieces of that. Now you're formulating and curating a business that's yours. And ultimately, that's what I was trying to get out of Growth Mastermind. I think we've been achieving that on some level. And my goal is to keep like going in that direction and keep bringing people in that could really help you, just pick up little pieces here or there to add to the arsenal that you go out there and you sell with. This series, for a long time, I've been doing this for those who have been in Maplewood, but what I'm trying to do a little differently than even I've done in the past, even for the folks in Maplewood, is make it less about like this is an office meeting where we're talking about like general like happenings in the marketplace, and more of like, let's do a deep dive on specific topics, on like something that I know could bring value to you that maybe you're thinking about, maybe you haven't even heard about. This is a meeting today that some of you in the room probably have heard a ton about. It depends on how much you read about this stuff online. And then there's other people in the room that will have no idea what I'm talking about because it's not like at the forefront of what you're doing on a daily basis. That doesn't mean it's not important. And I'm going to actually make the point in the argument that if you think about it, for those of you who never heard of what was going on with the NAR settlement, and now you think of the impact that it had on your day-to-day compared to the way business used to be done compared to the way it's done today, it's very different. It's different. You take out a buyer, you need a contract with that buyer. Like you're not at the mercy of a listing agent to tell you what you could get paid. Like there are some significant differences in the way business is done today versus a year ago. And that was because of the NAR settlement. Clear cooperation policy and all that entails is really the next shoe to drop. And for those of you who have never heard about that, like that's fine. By the time you leave here today, you're going to feel well-versed in this entire topic. You're going to understand how it impacts you from a business perspective. You're going to understand the talking points related to it. And you're going to understand where I believe we have some competitive advantages. So, that's really the focus of today's meeting. And, I wanted to start with, obviously I told you we're going to do NAR clear cooperation policy as I stutter. But my question to you is, who here knows what that even is? 2 people? I love it.
I didn't know what you said.
Do you know what NAR's clear cooperation policy is? I have 2 people in the room. Either of you guys want to take a stab at it out loud? Go ahead. Full disclosure? Nope.
It has to do with listings being shared across the MLS, and so that everyone, that there's clear cooperation, so that everyone has access to listings.
Well said. You want to add anything, or does that make sense?
Well, I think I know where you're going with it, so, but yes, so.
I would love to hear where I'm going with it.
You're going with how Compass is trying to, maybe I'm skipping ahead, how Compass is invite other agents from, or I guess invite, I don't know if that's the right word, yeah, maybe invite other agents from other brokerages to use their platform, so, they can kind of try to more control
Okay.
exclusive inventory, is that where you're going?
I mean, I will touch upon that. I wouldn't say that that's directionally the entire meeting, but what I would say is this. First of all, let's break it down like according to NAR. I'm going to read this out loud. Section 101, clear cooperation. Within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage website displays, including IDX and VOW, digital communication marketing, email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, and applications available to the general public. So basically, if you take a listing of any form, exclusive, non-exclusive, doesn't make a difference. If you take a listing and you do any form of public marketing, you have 1 day to put it in the MLS. That's the rule as it stands right now. Some of you are breaking that rule. I'm very well aware of that. But that is the rule as it stands. And if the MLS wanted to crack down on basically forcing you not to do that, they could fine you, they could do all these different things related to that. Now, take it a step further, they basically make a note, exclusive listing information for required property types must be filed and distributed to other MLS participants for cooperation under the Clear Cooperation Policy. This applies to listings filed under Section 1 and listings exempt from distribution under Section 1.3 of the NAR model MLS rules if it is being publicly marketed, and any other situation where the listing broker is publicly marketing an exclusive listing that is required to be filed with the service and is not currently available to other MLS participants. We don't care if it's an exclusive listing, if it's an MLS listing, we need to make sure that every MLS receives all of the information about these listings and it's distributed to, our local competitors, our local, cooperating brokers, whatever you want to call them. So that's probably a little bit more harsh than you guys realize the language to be. But that is the rule. From 2020, that's what was voted on for all realtor MLSs. So, and this is something that's in the scope right now of a lot of different companies, different brokerages, and people across the industry. Now, Section 1.3 exempt listings. If the seller refuses to permit the listing to be disseminated by the service, the participant may then take the listing as an office exclusive, and such listing shall be filed with the service but not disseminated to the participants. Filing of the listing should be accompanied by certification signed by the seller that he does not desire the listing to be disseminated by the service. Note, Section 1.3 is not required if the service does not require all indicate types of listings accepted by the service, listings to be submitted by a participant to the service. Note 2, MLS participants must distribute exempt listings within 1 business day once the listing is publicly marketed. So even if your seller says, I have absolutely no interest in working through the MLS, once you publicly market it, it's now triggering the requirement that you put it into the MLS. Now, I realize that some of you guys will feel all sorts of different ways about this, but maybe a visual of this, and this is pulled from some MLS, I don't remember. You have traditional listings. You sign a listing, within 2 business days you get it in, you put it in to cooperate with other participants, and then it gets marketed to the public. Office exclusives. They're basically saying you sign it within 2 business days, you send it to the MLS, and no public marketing. I realize that the rule says 1. This particular MLS allows for 2 days. That's the only difference there. Don't get thrown off by it. And then the last thing is it's saying, all right, well, what if you take any type of listing, traditional listing or exclusives, you market it to the public within 1 business day, it has to go to the MLS. So this has been going on for a while now, and I understand that some of you are like, I've never heard this before. I understand that. But that's what's going on. So my question to you before we get into any sides of this is, do you like this rule? Do you not like this rule? What are your thoughts on this? And this is definitely going to be an interactive meeting, so I do need you to participate. Go ahead. It would be an adjustment, okay.
It's helpful when you're looking for comps.
Okay.
If you could see like things that have sold or closed, and you need to like talk to the seller.
Yeah.
Or you need to make an offer with the buyer.
So let me rephrase the question in a different way. Are you for it or are you against it? Or is there some middle ground that I should be aware of?
I don't know if I'm for or against. I'm
Okay.
the type of person, if you tell me that's what it needs to be, then that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay, interesting, go ahead.
I think it's gonna get confusing, because I still see right now where people are not supposed to be charging MLS fees, and everyone's saying 2% minus $300. So I'm wondering, are the other brokerages going to follow this? I doubt it.
I'm laughing not because you said something silly or anything like that, but because this has been in place since 2020.
Yeah.
So this is the rule. So you're seeing firsthand whether brokerages are following it or not.
So
But
why do we have, so isn't this like exclusive look? How is exclusive look?
I'm going to speak to that, I promise. That's part of the meeting. Go ahead, Najia.
I was just gonna say, I'm always for doing what's best for the client, right? And so.
Got her nervous with that. No. Go ahead.
In most cases, it's best for the client to be on the MLS because the most exposure brings the most buyers,
Okay.
the competition, et cetera. So, I mean, but obviously if the client doesn't want to be on the MLS for whatever their reason is, that's a perfectly fine,
Okay.
scenario. But I'm for it because I think exposure brings competition, which brings.
Hold on to that thought because we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Go ahead.
So are you saying that an exclusive is technically only an exclusive for 2 days?
It's an exclusive until you market it publicly according to NAR guidelines.
So if it's
Then what is-
exclusive and you have MLS, it doesn't necessarily mean people have to cooperate with you, right?
You don't have to cooperate. This has nothing to do with cooperation. I know it sounds misleading.
Exclusive is just.
They just need to be aware of it. They need to be aware of it.
So there's a lot of exclusives out there that have for sale signs, but it says exclusive on it, and they're not in the MLS. They're in
Yeah,
violation.
which is technically breaking the
That's
rules.
in violation.
Yeah. So again, I'm not taking a side just yet. I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but I want to start to go through on a macro scale the arguments here. So go ahead.
So the one thing I'm thinking, if you see a house that's for sale, it's got this exclusive sign, it's on the MLS, and the only way you can access it is through you or your brokerage, that's good for us, right? We're the ones that have the exclusive.
Depends. I mean, I promise we're going to get to like all the different sides of this. So I'm glad, and I'm going to stop and ask you guys your opinion after I present each case. Okay? So let's talk about the pros. And by the way, I'm going to get into who's on each side of this because there's been some very vocal parties on both sides of this. So Zillow is taking a stand for it. Why would Zillow care about this?
It benefits them because it uploads automatically to them.
Correct.
And they're taking control. They're taking our business.
So anybody who's on the side of pro, you stand with Zillow. And the reason why is because syndication, like you were saying, syndication is, if I put it into the MLS, it syndicates to Zillow because of IDX and all that stuff. So that's something you should be aware of. Now, I'm going to read some quotes that I pulled. I read like 100 articles to get this meeting together, and it was really some interesting stuff. This is specifically from Zillow. Their position is less against, clear cooperation and more against the no commingling rule, which I'm about to speak to. So no commingling rule has been around for more than 20 years. It essentially says that if you're displaying MLS listings on a website, you can't show listings from other sources in the same search results. So it'll make sense in a second. So imagine going to Google and you get some of the search results, but if you want to see the rest of them, then you have to click on a different tab or go to a different page. It's not the way people search today. Under that rule today, we can't show, for example, an auction listing next to an MLS listing. If there's a home builder who's building a new community, we can't show those builders' listings next to the MLS listings. And so what happens is a buyer may not be aware that they're missing out. They're not seeing those other listings in the main search results. Since 2021, we've asked NAR on 4 separate occasions to consider revoking that rule. There's no need for it, and we think it reduces consumer transparency. We're seeing others out there who agree with us, and it's time for the rule to go. So if you go on Zillow right now, you ever notice that like there's all the listings and it'll say like for sale by owners will be on a separate tab? That's why. I personally have no interest in getting rid of the no commingling rule, just to be honest. I'm not going to touch upon that beyond this slide. But what I will say is like Zillow is a very vocal leader for this, and they're trying to like weasel their way into this conversation and say, hey, let's get rid of this and put these two things together. Okay? Continues on. If this rule goes away, every brokerage is going to be pro-private listing network. This is Zillow speaking against, not commingling, but speaking against the clear cooperation policy going away. So this is their arguments why it should not go away. If this rule goes away, every brokerage is going to be pro-private listing network. And the agents who maybe now feel advantaged to work at a brokerage that has a private listing network will all of a sudden be disadvantaged, or just like every other agent when all this data becomes fragmented. When you put a listing into the private network, sellers get hurt. Private networks or pocket listings are also bad for buyers. We've always believed in transparency at Zillow, and when listings sit behind a velvet rope in a private network, the only way that a buyer can get access to those listings is by being forced to work with the brokerages operating that network. It reduces the buyer's choice. They may have an agent they've known for a long time, an agent they enjoy working with, who they click with, and now they can't work with that agent if they aren't at the brokerage that operates the private network. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if the agent uses the MLS, if the agent uses the MLS, if they are, the exclusives are being put in there, you could still call that agent.
So this is talking about if clear cooperation goes away, that's the world that they're worried about, that Zillow's worried about. And this is what the ills of this that they're speaking to. Do you have something to ask, Alex?
Most of the time, if you're calling up one of the big networks, one of the big brokerage firms, you call them up because you see a sign. They don't say exclusive or anything. You call them up, oh yes, that's our listing. May I show it? No, because it's exclusive, and only our brokerage firm can show it. Period. And you know they never put it on the MLS. That hinders us.
So you're pro clear cooperation? I'm not trying to label you, I'm just asking.
No, but I don't like some of the things about clear cooperation, putting it on MLS right after some people, one of my friends was selling her house. I said, "Oh, you can put it on MLS," and she said, "I know, my agent said to do it, but this person came in and as is, full of cash flows and so forth, so she really didn't want to put it on MLS. Even though she was told by her agent."
Go ahead, Amy.
You know how years ago, signature notice screwed me over.
I do. Very well aware.
So, the reason why is because they said, you said the seller is not offering out a commission and I'm only getting paid my side. Now that we have these separate sides, if at that time, I never even asked the question because I wasn't given the opportunity, it was several years ago. If I would have said to my buyer, hey, would you pay my commission, would I have been able to?
This is not, I know what you're saying. Let me just sum it up real quick. At that time, you're correct. Now, the question is, would you get access? Would you even get access to show the listing? Because that's at the heart of what Zillow's saying about clear cooperation. They're saying if clear cooperation goes away, then every company would have their own listings, similar to how it is in Manhattan. Like every company has their own listings. They don't necessarily have to share with one another. There's exclusivity there, and it's like, you can see my listings. If you want to see their listings, you go to them. Now, that's the extreme, full disclosure, but that's the extreme that Zillow's trying to say you should be afraid of this, don't go in that direction. So here's the against argument. Probably the most vocal leader against clear cooperation is Compass. And Robert Refkin is like at the heart of this, screaming from the rafters why clear cooperation should go away. So I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive on the points that he's making. And I want you to listen. I will give Refkin a nice compliment. He's brilliant. He's a smart man, so his arguments are not stupid. He understands what is NAR going through right now. They just got through, and they're not even done with the settlement because they're still paying it. So they're nervous. NAR is nervous, and their biggest thing that they're nervous about, more so than anything else, is another lawsuit. Because one more lawsuit, they're bankrupt. NAR goes away. And that's the truth of it. Like, so knowing that, they don't want, these potential lawsuits. And the argument that Refkin makes is at the heart of what they care about most, which is the code of ethics. And he's saying that the code of ethics is the reason why clear cooperation should go away completely. So before I get into his argument, I forgot about this slide. The U.S. Department of Justice came out with a letter stating that they want clear cooperation to change. So they're against clear cooperation. Their argument, I'm not going to go into the whole letter, but I'll read two points. They want to revise NAR's clear cooperation policy to extend from 1 business day to 60 days. By the time 60 days, the time by which listing brokers must submit listings to the MLS. So they want to give listing brokers 2 months to list it, and that's what the DOJ cares about. And they want to eliminate the exception to the clear cooperation policy for office exclusives. So they're basically saying within 60 days of putting the MLS beforehand, you can do whatever you want. Okay? Here's Refkin and Compass's stance on this. So remember, his argument, I'm going to go through 3 bullet points on this. His argument is to use the code of ethics against this policy. So Article 1, protecting clients' interests. The section of the Code of Ethics says, when representing a buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, or other client as an agent, realtors pledge themselves to protect and promote the interests of their client. His conflict, and where he's saying that the clear cooperation is a problem, it says it forces realtors to comply with MLS mandated rules, even when they conflict with the first sentence of the first article of the Code of Ethics. So it's saying, if the rules conflict with what your clients care about and it's going against their needs, that's a code of ethics issue. Clear cooperation can require realtors to act against their client's best interests when clients want to market their homes publicly for more than 1 day without placing them on the MLS. And now he gives examples of what that looks like. The assumption that every client desires maximum exposure for their listing is mistaken. Many clients don't believe that more exposure equals a higher price. If more exposure equals a higher price, why do home builders sell hundreds of thousands of homes off the MLS each year? If more exposure equals a higher price, why do hundreds of thousands of companies not sell their products on Amazon where there is more exposure? Some clients care more about privacy than price. They shouldn't be forced to surrender their privacy to sell their home. And he moves on to point number 2, or excuse me, examples rather. Examples are a family member is seriously ill and the family wishes to maintain privacy to avoid additional stress. A couple going through a divorce prefers to avoid public attention until their affairs are settled. An individual is moving for a confidential job opportunity. The property is undergoing recommended improvements. The owner wants feedback on how the improvements may impact sales price before showcasing it to potential buyers. Sellers want to test the asking price privately without accumulating unnecessary days on market. We do different MLSs allow for that or don't, so it depends. This is on a national scale. Correct. Yeah. Go ahead.
I agree with that 100% with that.
With this?
I like the fact that we have the exclusive look, and I think if more of us participated, we would look better. That's a great selling point to our clients. It's like, if you work with us because we have copy listings, like that's a great thing. Yes, that's when you're on the other side and you can't get into somebody else's house, but then that makes you want to go out and get more listings, own the market.
Okay.
Whereas, and this is correct, it's all about the customer client. It's not about the world. World just wants to have everything, right? For free, essentially, and then us pay back, right? To do the free creation. So I agree 100% with what he's saying, and I like the idea in the middle is to pay 60 days, and then maybe.
His idea is not 60 days. His idea is to eliminate it completely.
Oh, okay.
60 days is the DOJ. I apologize. Go ahead, Jay.
Isn't this what already happens with exclusive? Like, it's not like we don't have the option for an exclusive for all of those reasons that are listed there.
Yeah. I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to answer it when I do my portion.
Okay.
All right? Because I I want to be unbiased in this while we go through it, but I'll explain that answer. It's a good question. All right, number 2, Article 3, cooperation with other brokers. Realtors shall cooperate with other brokers except when cooperation is not in the client's best interest. The conflict. While promoting cooperation, the clear cooperation policy does not account for situations where the client believes that sharing the listing on the MLS to all realtors could harm their confidentiality. Examples. The sale involves sensitive family legal arrangements. An estate sale involves parties not ready to acknowledge the sale publicly. High-profile clients and law enforcement officials need discretion due to privacy concerns related to security or public image. Number 3, or his third point rather, is standard of practice 1 through 9, client confidentiality. Realtors shall not knowingly use confidential information of clients to the disadvantage of clients, or use confidential information of clients for the realtor's advantage or the advantage of third parties unless clients consent after full disclosure. The conflict. It can be easily argued by homeowners under state laws that information that they deem confidential is being used to advantage the MLSs, a third party that sells their data, and that the clear cooperation policy limits the homeowner's ability to provide explicit and informed consent to such information. So they're saying he's hitting home on confidentiality, and he's hitting home on the fact that there's circumstances where clear cooperation is really against your client's best interest. Agree? Disagree? Agree? Okay. And then there's the middle ground. EXP. So EXP's Chief Executive Officer, Leo Pereira, answers the question. I'm going to skip around a little bit in this, but 2 points. To be clear, I'm not advocating for the status quo. If the choice is either to keep or destroy clear cooperation policy in its current form, the obvious answer is to keep it. However, my preference is to modify it. Listening to agents as market participants while preserving the benefits of a functional cooperative data system, which we all rely on. I will also continue to call out what is now being disguised as consumer advocacy for what truly is self-interest, profit-driven manipulation, elegantly wrapped in marketing speech. Did he have the compass? He goes on to say, and this is like different questions that he was asked in this article I thought were good. How can maximum exposure equal maximum price be true? How can maximum exposure equals maximum price be true? Or the MLS study claiming homes sell for 17.5% more on the MLS be true, when the most sophisticated and profit-driven sellers of real estate, the developers and home builders, sold more than 300,000 homes off the MLS last year? I thought that was a really good argument made by Refkin. I thought this was an even better response. It says developers and builders have marketing budgets and sales teams dedicated to selling large volumes of homes, often at predetermined pricing models. Individual sellers lack that infrastructure, and for them, MLS exposure ensures the broadest market reach and maximum competition, leading to the highest sales price. He's talking about the budget.
Effectively, what he's saying is that the builders have their own MLS.
Correct. They have the ability to market on a higher scale and expose. All right, so the next piece. Why are agents now forced to cooperate with portals? Zillow is a portal, for those of you who don't know. Companies without agents, listings, or clients, whose business model is to sell leads, not homes. Why are buyer inquiries sold to the highest bidder instead of going to me, the agent who knows the home best? His response: portals exist because brokerages allow them to flourish by giving them the data access in the first place. Brokers may opt out of sending listings to any portal should they choose the MLS. Should they choose. The MLS, however, remains the most structured and fair system that ensures all agents, not just the highest bidder, can compete on a level playing field. 2 more pieces to this. Why is the DOJ investigating NAR's clear cooperation policy? What did the judge in the lawsuit between the DOJ and NAR say that the DOJ believes that the clear cooperation policy restricts home seller choices and precludes competition for the new listing services? The DOJ has historically scrutinized real estate structures going back to the 1940s. Clear cooperation policy ensures transparency and competition by preventing secretive off-market deals that disadvantage consumers. The DOJ concern is focused on choice. The seller should have a choice. Clear cooperation remains requires that listings advertised publicly must be on the MLS, but may also be in other locations. Clear cooperation policy does not restrict other advertising or forums. Good agents outline all the choices sellers have in marketing their property. And the last piece for him is, my client asked not to have a price drop history and days on market on their listing. Why won't my MLS allow me to do what my client asked? Transparency benefits buyers and sellers. Hiding market data would mislead consumers, creating an unfair advantage for some sellers while reducing trust in the system. Change your mind? Feel the same way? Now everybody's like, damn it. Anybody?
I still feel the same way.
What's the same way?
I still feel like if you're an agent, you should have, and you're dealing with a client, you should have the power to do what they're asking us to do.
Okay.
If they want it to be exclusive, it should be able to be exclusive without all these regulations. In theory, it sounds good, but it doesn't necessarily always help the seller or the buyer.
Okay.
The idea that an exclusive listing hurts consumers, that's not necessarily true either. It could give a consumer advantage to get a property that otherwise wouldn't be able to have access to.
Okay. So you're pro getting rid of clear cooperation.
Yes.
So you're against clear cooperation. Okay. Go ahead. One second. Go ahead.
I think the concern is, people who advantage sellers, who don't really know the market very well, and they don't know anything else. So there's no way out there that we can market the property, it should be an advantage of the benefit. The concern, the choices should be there.
Yeah.
They need to have a clear sense of what are they choosing.
So taking advantage of sellers, it could be an issue in a world without clear cooperation. Go ahead.
And then if you're taking advantage of everyday life, like wholesalers, right, who come and, and then now, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. A lot of times people can't, there's a lot of people who can't do that, so I have to talk for them, but sometimes they get focused on the money that they really get for their property because it wasn't advertised. But I guess I'm trying to understand why there's not a world where there can't be what we have now, which is good cooperation and exclusive.
So middle ground.
When the situation works, and then when they don't want, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, we already have it in Jersey, right? So this is, you're talking on a nationwide scale.
We're breaking the rules in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, you're breaking the rules. We have the ability to not break the rules. People choosing not to.
No, yeah, I would make the argument that most companies are breaking the rules right now beyond what they're supposed to. I'm not saying we should or shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, I think current practice is probably not in compliance. Go ahead.
What is like the binary, like all or nothing? It's like an American thing, like everything's black and green and white.
Yeah.
Why can't, but I mean, I'm not sure who said it, but I guess, there's a lot of, not all agents are like us, and not everybody is explaining it to their clients. And so many people are getting, taken advantage of and not getting not getting the full story. I mean, I think one thing that I'm sure most of us did our clients, we want to know the true value of your house and to the widest possible market. Having said that, I realized, like, one of the listings I had a couple years ago, I realized, you're just down the road and you're touring you're touring all over the world, and you don't have an opportunity to clear out your house and get it ready to the market. So, if you're happy with this price, I can get you this. But if you go on the market, I can get you a lot more, but it's up to you. I'm working full time, I'm touring the country, I don't want to do that, and the price is wrong. I think everybody has, different circumstances, and it doesn't have to be so black and white.
We're going to go Tim, Marvin, Sarah, and then I'm going to keep the slides moving.
So the way I look at this is that after 25 years of the internet, where we've had power shifting from the seller to the buyer, now we're the seller wants their power back. That's what this is. Since the seller trying to get a quick power grab
I
back.
have a more jaded opinion on what this is, but I'll keep mine.
You're more jaded than me, that's
Yeah, I do have a way more jaded opinion.
From a big picture perspective, apart from Zillow, which are all players that support it? Apart from Zillow, which is all available?
I'm gonna I answer that question, I'm going to give away too much for my portion. So I promise you I will get to that. But
Can I answer it?
Go ahead.
I think the answer is apart from zero. It's apart from zero. I don't think any other things the internet folks are really pushing it.
No, I do have an answer for this, but I promise I don't want to give this much away because it's more fun if I keep it to the end. Sarah, go ahead.
No, but I agree. There are times when if clients can't give access to the market, it's actually detrimental if something sits, right? Because suddenly you have a baby and you can't get all these people, and it's not getting the widest exposure if they're not showing everywhere. So it's like if you really get nitty-gritty with the clients, like sometimes being off market is in their best interest based on how things work within the parameters of the market. I don't know.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead.
Now that we're signing these fire agency
Yeah.
agreements, there's another issue there, no? Now you have an agreement with the buyer, there's an exclusive they heard about, I can't sell that exclusive.
Yeah, it's part of the problems that are going to arise with this. I'm glad you brought that up. As I not so this is Anywhere's position. Anywhere, for you guys don't realize, it's our parent company. So this is Ryan Schneider. He said, we're in the relax, not repeal world. The two extremes both have some real issues with them. The current extreme and the mandatory nature is a real problem. We don't like mandatory things. We've been telling people to relax mandatory rules for a number of years. Since people didn't listen to us on the participation rule, we all paid dearly for that. But on the flip side, again, just a total repeal and moving to private listing networks, I don't think is good for the consumer. So that was Ryan Schneider. And he continued with this. Anywhere's recommendation, including giving agents more time to market listings before adding them to the MLS, a few weeks rather than one business day, offering some leeway around the requirement that all listings must be entered into the MLS, redefining what public marketing means, and giving homeowners and sellers the option to limit the sharing of information and photos of a property on public websites and platforms. So those are like the 4 points that they kind of spoke to. And then Sue Yannicone actually took a different stab at it. She said, instead of discussing a potential compromise like a 1 to 3 week grace period for posting to the MLS, we've seen the repeal proponents bang the drum about how the policy hurts sellers by showing days on market and price reductions. Yet those same companies show that data on their own listings, as they should, since the data is important information to potential buyers. Instead of talking about solutions like introducing exceptions for real-life circumstances that would justify greater seller privacy, we've seen those same proponents spout skewed talking points implying that a seller would be foolish not to test the property in their private listing network, even though data shows that listing on an MLS typically leads to upwards of 15% higher sales prices. And instead of contemplating a middle ground about providing sellers with flexibility for the expansive amount of property information they're required to display on a listing, certain companies are simply trying to concentrate listings for the express purpose of benefiting their business at the expense of a consumer base that is already struggling with high prices and low inventory, not to mention the potential impact to agents if certain brokerages are attempted to hoard listings. James on? Sam? Thoughts?
Well, I think it was about my point, which was coming from what's in the best interest of the client, right? For the client, not so much for me. My role is detrimental for that client. If someone can explain to them, you need to give access because you're going to be in a hurt way, right? So here are your options for what your situation is. Like Amy was saying, like he's touring, this and that. Like, is that the most beneficial for that person? Not what's the most beneficial for me. I think people are abusing, let's keep it at our brokerage and or let me take the 1% and hurt you because I'm not giving this back to anybody because I'm Redfin or whatever, right?
So, good.
So our job is to create a marketplace, a place where buyers and sellers come to do business, right? So our job really is to produce an even playing field for both parties. As an industry, yes. As an industry, yes. I'll just bring
Got
up
it.
case on both sides.
I think our job is what is the best interest of our clients. That's the only thing that we're responsible for, but they need to be supported. So if we have roadblocks in front of us, prevent us from doing that, as an industry, are we really protecting the clients?
So I don't think either of you are wrong. I think let me phrase it differently. If you're 100% right, that's the letter of the law. I think where the nuance is what is NAR's job? Because NAR doesn't work specifically for the client, they're trying to protect the industry as a whole, so that's where the argument lies. So, and I'm not taking a position on that. I'm going to do one more piece, and then I'm going to go into my own feelings on this, and how it has an impact on the marketplace that you really should be aware of. So, what about this? Is removing days on market and price history a good idea or not? I hate that idea. But that's a big piece of getting rid of clear cooperation is there's arguments like Reffian, from Compass is saying like, you're hurting your client's interest. You work for the seller, to your point, and you're putting up days on market. Days on market is against the client's interest because now it's helping the buyer have more information to realize that the listing is sitting. And that's why you should do exclusives.
Market data.
I agree. Like, I don't disagree with that. I think it's really crucial to keep that data personally, but that's, again, being thrown into this argument. So let's talk about the domino impact of this, and then I'm going to go into my thoughts on wrapping this all up. So the domino impact, and the easiest way to speak to this is without a question on this, because their whole position is anti-clear cooperation, and they are making a very public marketing push towards what they believe is going to get them to that place. And I'm going to explain what that looks like. It's really exclusive. Some of you guys, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. Because one, clear cooperation is going to become a bigger and bigger issue for the next year. Like, this is going to be talked about. This is going to have impacts on how we do business and all of that. But also, today, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and they're like, listen, I'm competing with these companies, and one of them happens to be Compass, and Compass came in and said X, Y, and Z to my seller, and now my seller is asking me questions that I would have never gotten asked before. So, I want to speak to exclusives and what Compass is. What was that? Oh, well, allow me to present. So, this is the talking points. So right now, by the way, just so you know that there's no manipulation to what I'm doing here, I pulled every single one of these from Robert Refkin's Instagram page. So this is directly from their CEO. Can't be like, manipulated in any way. This is like screen. Not the talking points piece, but this is. So this was and by the way, they're in chronological order of how they came out. And there's a reason why I'm saying that. So the first piece is, and the talking points that I'm hearing locally is a Compass agent will walk into a seller's house and will say really 3 points mainly on this. It'll say, do you have a make me move number? They're using like lingo that, phraseology that comes from Zillow. Do you have a make me move number? If you have a make me move number, let's put it into our exclusive listing, whatever the hell they call it, I forget. I'll get it, I don't remember how they're labeling it. But Compass exclusive listings, I think it's called like that. So they'll say, we'll put it in there. There's going to have no negative, days on market or anything, against, so you can test your price essentially. And this is why you're gonna list with us. And then the second piece is we have exclusive buyers from New York City that are going to come here, and we're gonna make it so that there's a velvet rope, and they're going to come here and get access to these listings, but nobody else is, and they're going to pay a premium for it because they have exclusive access. And then the third piece is this 3-phase marketing strategy, which we're going to talk about. So then the next thing that he puts out is a whole Inman article about why client disclosures, non-MLS mandates serve homeowners the best. So now he's doing all sorts of media campaigns, pushing the agenda that they have of creating this exclusive database. And then they must have gotten some negative feedback. And I think one of the pieces of negative feedback that they got was really from Zillow. Because Zillow pushed back and said, this is self-serving, you're trying to just have your own, sell your own listings and get the benefit of that. So immediately thereafter, Refkin puts this out. Compass, we co-broke with everyone. set up a search alert on Compass.com to see our Compass Coming Soon listings. So now every broker in here who's with Coldwell Banker could get access to all of Compass's listings. You just have to sign into their site. Okay? And then they wanted us to push it a step further and say, wait, yes, we believe in this model. We're going to move forward with exclusives, but we want you to know that the majority of our listings are sold through the MLS. So they put this out. Compass, 94% of Compass listings sell on the MLS, which means that their strategy works 6% of the time. So I saw this and I started laughing, and then they started to talk about scale. And they said, well, look, we have 8,300 private exclusives and Compass Coming Soons. We have 10,000 people across the country that have they can sell, and this is why you as a buyer in a market that's starved for inventory should come to our website because they're building the platform, right? And then they came out again and they said, Compass, 94% of Compass listings sell on the MLS, including Compass private exclusives and Compass Coming Soons. So they're just riding the fence here, back and forth. Then they dropped, some more media, and they said Compass invites outside agents to use Coming Soon listings in latest shot at clear cooperation. Then they put out their whole presentation related to their three-step process. Their three-step process is maximize the value of your home. Here are the 3 steps. 1, find the right price. We're going to take it as an exclusive. You're going to do whatever price you want, test out the market, figure out if it's the right price, wrong price, whatever. And once we figure that out, well, then we're going to be able to go to market if we want to do that down the road. The market is build early demand. We're going to do a Compass Coming Soon. That's step 2. And step 3 is once those 2 fail, we're going to then put it to the MLS like we always have, except you're going to be able to sell it with confidence because you already know your price. Okay? So how do you think that Compass got all of their agents to start using this? You think they just came out with like, hey guys, like we have this really good new system to promote exclusives, like we want you to use it. It's in the client's best interest, and that's why we're doing it. No. Compass handles social media campaigns for off-market or off-MLS listings. They're paying every single person in their company $100 in marketing for every exclusive listing you take. Because all they care about is driving exclusive listings. Does that sound like it's in the client's best interest? No. It has nothing to do with the client. This is an agenda. This is them trying to push what their agenda is. In addition to individual incentives, Compass is also running an incentive for offices. The first 5 that have an 80% adoption rate of the company's phased marketing strategy, which entails first listing a home off the MLS, will receive local marketing campaigns, including billboards and social media ads. When you sit down with a seller, you have a conversation about this strategy, and they bring up that Compass talking about, this 3-step approach, and this is why we do it, and blah, blah, blah. The first thing I would say is, I just want you to understand something. This is a top-down strategy to try to drive traffic to Compass.com. This has nothing to do with your needs. In fact, they're paying their agents to do this. So your agent that you sat down with and had a conversation with about this is intentionally putting your needs second in order to get an incentive.
They're trying to be the next Zillow. The next Zillow, that's exactly what
They're
they're
trying.
Zillow without business, they have 0 power, Compass holds the whole power, and it's on their platform. Anytime someone wants to look for a home, it drives them to the Compass site, not Zillow, not any other brokerage. They have complete control over where you search for your home.
But I thought this had to do with flexibility with the client. And I thought this was about the code of ethics.
Yeah.
No? So what about Coldwell Banker? Coldwell Banker responded to Compass's strategy. And Coldwell Banker put this out. Some brokerages claim that keeping your home off market will get you a better offer, but here's the truth. Homes listed on the MLS sell for about 17% more than off-market properties. Limited exposure equals fewer buyers, weaker offers, no MLS, no competitive bidding. It's simple, more buyers, more offers. Agents at Coldwell Banker Realty provide the best of both worlds. Early exposure to 100,000 agents with our exclusive look tool. Maximum market demand for the highest price. MLS compliant marketing that protects your home's value. Where do you feel now?
Yes.
Guess what? You want it? You don't want it? You like our approach? You
I like
dislike
your
our
approach. I like our
You like our approach. By the way, if you feel Compass is better, shout it out.
Sounds like we're trying to be like Compass, just we.
Okay. I'm glad you said that.
What did you say, Michael?
We're prioritizing our clients first, and we're still allowing our agents to have the flexibility to do that.
So we're doing the same thing.
No, but Compass is trying to monopolize the market, whereas what we're saying is, we're thinking about the client first, and if we can't sell them exclusive, we'll go to market. That's the public interest.
Higher price, that less people come to your home. Essentially, if you don't, there's always the MLS.
Okay. Got it.
So they want to phase the market off of there because then it just justifies when it fails, right? So that's what I feel like that is, right? So then they don't have to come to market because, I don't know, I think that removing that data allows the agenda to push forward even further.
Go ahead, Sally.
What we used to have is agents would take it off the market, pay because their agency did not pay the MLS fee. They had to pay it themselves if they were, and they relist it when it was reduced, so it came back on the market as a new listing. That was when the old days, when you were the third realtor on the listing. No one knew about the other 90 or 120 days.
Zillow workaround. You're talking about Zillow. If your offer is 30 days, is it?
Yeah.
I think if you're off the market for 30 days, then it relists to zero. Okay.
Here's where the internet shifts the power to buy.
What was that?
Here's where the internet shifts the power to buy.
That conversation, we're back. I know this is so interesting, though. We all have side conversations.
But here's the classic example of why this is shifting, the internet shifting the power to buyer, because that information is fine on the internet.
Yeah, everything's fine. One last one, I'm going to give you my opinion.
So I am devil's advocate on this because, yes, it's obviously, if we're talking about specific interests, it is sellers and non-sellers, but it's also business, right? And driving leads as agents and market share. And there is something to beating out Zillow and having control. And I think it's smart. What they're doing now is not great. It's a level up in terms of trying to drive traffic. But if someone's clicking around on the internet, you want to be the first one they click on, right? It's all about who's the first point of contact. And if they are everywhere and they are, because people always say, I found it on Zillow. So what if they said they found it on Coldwell Banker? With you? Yeah. Right? See what I'm trying to say? It's not, oh, that is dumb. You know, now it's murky because it's not in the best interest.
So let me.
But I want to ask you, Zillow does have for sale by owner, so then how are they, because they're just sharing with everybody, but it's only on their website, why is it not on Realtor.com, like Coldwell Banker, all that? It's not MLS.
So,
But it's not shared.
I wasn't going to go down this road, but I'll touch on the Zillow piece real quick.
You have to be careful.
So, keep in mind, the only reason that Zillow follows all these rules is because they want to be compliant with the MLS so they can get our listings. If we go away from the MLS, Zillow's rogue. Like, so if Zillow wants to put on their site new construction, for sale by owners, all that stuff, throw them into the group, they can do whatever they want at that point. So, you know, some of these things, like, you got to realize, like, the nuclear impact that it has on the marketplace. And I think every person in here might sound like, I don't want to, I'm just going consensus here. It seems like you like the idea of being able to take exclusives. Like, you're a little wishy-washy on, you know, whether you would want to do away with the policy or not. But ultimately, like, you like the concept of exclusives. I don't think that there's any person in here who would like the concept of doing away with cooperation between brokerages. And I'm just telling you right now, it's a very slippery slope.
Is it
very,
going in that direction?
very slippery slope. I'd say it's 50-50 right now. Like, it's 100%. So here's my opinion. Anybody who's known me for the last 15 years, which most of you do, or many of you do, I should say, I have been pushing exclusives for as long as I can remember. I believe in exclusives. I am not going to tell you that I'm like, that I think exclusives are a problem. I think that there's a strategy attached to them that makes a tremendous amount of sense for a seller. I'm going to speak to that strategy before we finish up here. I think that there's benefits in the marketplace. I think that there are situational reasons why exclusives make sense. I'm not against exclusives. Now, by saying that, the thought process would be I'm against clear cooperation. That's not accurate at all. I'm very much for clear cooperation. I'm not for it in its current form. So when you think about clear cooperation, I would say that I'm pro clear cooperation, if not for the middle ground. So if we can't get some middle ground on clear cooperation, and it's a binary choice, clear cooperation or no cooperation, I'm all for cooperation. Because the marketplace will get shattered overnight. And by the way, this is not a self-serving thing, what I'm saying. This is actually a market-driven, client-based thing. Because from a self-serving perspective, and I'm going to show you real numbers on this, no one would benefit, including Compass, no one would benefit more than Coldwell Banker from this going away. So, to the point, Jody, you were making before about, like, we're taking a weaker position than Compass on this, I'm fine with you saying that, but the reality is I think we're taking a much stronger position because Compass is taking a strong position against it because it helps them. We're taking a position that actually it's against our interests. It really is against our interests, is the truth of it, and it's for the interest of consumers. So to me, like, this is where my thought, I'm gonna dig deeper on this. You ever read this book? It's called The New Gold Standard. It's about the Ritz-Carlton and their like outstanding customer service. So they have this rule at the Ritz-Carlton that their famous $2,000 rule is any employee at the Ritz-Carlton they have a $2,000 budget to make a guest that's unhappy happy without permission of a supervisor. Wow. For any reason. Like if there's a problem and you feel like you can solve that problem and it costs less than $2,000, do it. Why? Because the average consumer at the Ritz-Carlton over the lifespan spends $250,000 there. So when you think about it, like it's peanuts. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what they're getting lifetime. They make sure that they get great quality service. Every one of you who has a strong client, you might not make $250,000, but you're making a lot of money. Like, there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that are made off of our clients. Like, the reality is customer service should come first. Like, and I think that putting our clients first is a big deal. So for me, the only compass that matters is this one. Is putting the client first, making that true north, and that to me makes the most sense, period. I don't believe that that's what Compass is doing at all. I don't, and I realize I'm biased, I work for Coldwell Banker, but I could just as easily have been at Compass. And they would have been happy with that. So this is not like, where I'm playing games on both sides of this. I believe that paying people $100 a pop to put, like they're listening to an exclusive database is so anti-consumer. It's so against like trying to help the customer do what's in their best interest. It's a self-serving tactic to try to get more business internally, period. And there's nothing anybody can say that's going to convince me other than that. That's the truth. So the question then becomes, all right, how do we separate ourselves from that and still be okay with exclusives? Because I'm pro-exclusive. This is where I stand on this. Exclusives, I've never once said exclusives are better than the MLS. That is not something that I would tell a client. And I don't think any of you should tell a client that. And if you're telling a client that, which is essentially what the formula is that's being said by Compass, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's not better than the MLS. Transparency is really what's most important here. And the way that I would explain it to a client has everything to do with not a top-down, this is what we should do because it's moving us in a certain direction from a corporate perspective, bullshit. What we should be doing when we sit down with a client is talking about pricing strategy. That's what matters here. And when you sit down and have a conversation about pricing strategy, and if you've never heard this before, pay close attention because this is like gold in terms of sitting in front of a client and actually getting them to understand why you do exclusive, why you wouldn't do an exclusive, and everything else. So pricing strategy is simple. Think of an auction house. When the auction house room, this room is filled. When it's filled and you know that there's a ton of people in that auction house and you're, auctioning off whatever piece of art you are, or in this case, real estate, it's very simple. What do you do in terms of pricing? You don't have to price it tippy top dollar because you're trying to get everybody in the room to bid it up and have an emotional engagement with whatever it is you're selling. So the whole point is this, putting it into the MLS and then syndicating it off in every direction. That's an auction house that's full. You're getting the entire marketplace that's available to it, and that's a full auction house. That's the whole point of the MLS, is syndication, is getting it out there, getting it in front of 1 million people. And when you do that, it's a very simple strategy. You price low, you sell high. You build competition amongst the marketplace because you have a full auction house. Now the flip side of that is a completely different strategy. Let's just say, again, go back to the auction house. But let's just say hypothetically that instead of having a full auction house, you only have a third of the room filled. Well, that's what an exclusive looks like. It looks like that with Coldwell Banker at least, and we're going to get to that in a second because we have market share. But if you're at John Doe Agency that has no market share, and you have 2 listing agents or 2 buyer agents in the marketplace, well, I mean, you don't have anybody in the room. So like now you're at a real disadvantage on the exclusive listing side because you're not marketing it to a group of people. At least at Coldwell Banker, it's almost 6,000 agents in New Jersey. So like you're getting a bigger slice of an exclusive market. Like the thing about exclusive listings and the reason why they make sense, and I'll agree with Compass on this one point, is it's an awesome opportunity to test the price. Like that's the greatest place that you could do to test the price. So when a seller says to you, Michael, I know that you say my home is worth, between 8 and 825, but I want $1.2 million. You think that it makes sense and it's beneficial to that client for us to bring it on the MLS at $1.2 million? No, absolutely not. It's like in their worst interest because then you're going to build up collect days on market. Over time, people are going to go from, oh, I wanted to see it to, oh, I wonder what's wrong with it. Like, why is it sitting so long in a marketplace where everything sells? And then instead of thinking about it being the price, they start thinking to themselves, it's not the price, something's wrong with the house. So now you're creating this like tension and this issue that goes on with a seller for no reason. You can easily test the price, educate your seller with a third of the marketplace, and quite frankly, maybe you get lucky. Maybe a buyer comes in that is, in desperate need, has the funds to do it, and decides I'm going to buy the house, and we've tested the price, but we've achieved what they wanted to achieve. And I can tell you firsthand, some people are adamantly against exclusive listings. I've been to offices where they're like, oh, they never do that and all that stuff, and that's fine, to each his own. But I will tell you that I've seen examples where we've taken an exclusive, had 10 offers within our office, and then put it to market because the seller said, no, I still want to take my chances with the market. I know I got above my asking. I know all of these things, but I still want to see what the open market will bring. And we've gotten less. We've gotten less in the open market because the best buyer happened to be from within. So it goes both ways. There's no question about it. But here's the thing. When we're talking about exclusives, there's a big piece of this that you have to understand. And I spoke about it before, but I'm going to show you the visual in your market. Because the visual is the whole talking point when you're going up against Compass or anybody else for that matter. When they come in and they push exclusives and they plant the seed on this is why, the strategy you should do, and this is what makes sense, and all of that other stuff, you may sit in front of a seller where it makes sense to be an exclusive because that's what they want. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what they want, here's what I want you to think about. We have exclusive look and we've had for like almost a decade. We've had for years and years and years. So we're clearly well versed in what exclusives look like. But I'll take it a step further is, think of that auction room. When you think of that auction house, and where, who has the buyers and who has the people in the marketplace and all that stuff, because how big the room is going to dictate how much exposure you're going to have if you're doing exclusives, right? So here's the thing. If you look at the Garden State MLS, this is for the last year, total MLS. We did $5.55 billion worth of production, Coldwell Banker did, for all Garden State MLS. The next best competitor was down by $2.2 billion, and it was Weicker. Not Compass, Weicker. Compass is number 3 at $1.68 billion. We're at 5.55, they're at 1.6. I'm specifically hitting on Compass for one reason and one reason only, because they're the ones talking about this strategy. They shouldn't be. They're getting absolutely crushed when you talk about that auction room. So when you talk about who gives a better advantage from an exclusive perspective, and I'm not pushing exclusive this, exclusive that. Do it where it makes sense to the seller. But don't for 1 second think you're at a disadvantage against Compass when you talk about exclusives, because the God's honest truth is we blow them out of the water in terms of the amount of people we have in the marketplace doing business. This is for the total MLS. Let's keep going through it. This is for units. Next best competitor is off by 2,778 units from us. We sell 2,000, almost 3,000 more houses in just the Garden State MLS alone, and the next best competitor is Weicker. And by the way, Compass is not even number 3, they're number 4 behind EXP. When you look at New Jersey MLS, because Essex County is broken up in half, this is the other half of Essex County, $2.55 billion for Coldwell Banker. Next best competitor, Christie's, at 1.48. Next best competitor, Sotheby's, at 1.43. Next best competitor, 1.21, Keller Williams. Next best competitor, 790 million, EXP. We're not even in the top 5 in New Jersey MLS. When you look at New Jersey MLS in terms of total units, same thing, 3,347. We lead our next competitor by 1,787 units sold. We're killing everybody in this marketplace. It's not even close. When you look at Hudson County, we have 747 sales compared to 348 is the next best. $601 million compared to 277, next best. Nobody's close to us. You keep going. Monmouth County MLS, this is the closest one we have. Why? Because we have practically no offices in Monmouth County. I mean, we have a handful of offices in all of Monmouth County. We have 1.15 billion. We're still number 1. Berkshire Hathaway is 1.09 billion. Then you have EXP, then Weicker, then Keller Williams. They're nowhere close. When you look at all Jersey, Central Jersey MLS, volume 653 million. Next best competitor EXP at 626. Again, we don't have a lot of offices. Go back to the Garden State MLS. Look at Essex County. Essex County, we do $877 million. Compared to our next best competitor is Compass at 669. We're $208 million above them in terms of production. Same thing if you look at volume. Volume, this is, I'm sorry, did I? Oh, no. I thought this was a good one. This is a different date range. So this is all of last year. Compass is number 2. We're number 1. In the past quarter, this is us. Weicker surpassed them. That's the past quarter of this year. 221 million. Next best competitor is 91 million less than us. Why are we having this conversation and worried about what the hell Compass is doing on these listings, on exclusives? Going to a seller's house and just talk to them about, hey, if you like that strategy, great. We do that strategy as well, except we do it better. And here's why. Leading, total volume in New Jersey MLS in Essex County is kind of close. Keller Williams has a giant office in Essex County, which is why. So 363 million to 346 million. We're still number 1. Union County, we destroy everything. Union County, we do 1.02 billion. Next best competitor, 322 million. We lead by $700 million. If you have any business in Union County that you're competing on, just show them this chart. Summit, Berkeley Heights and Providence, Westfield. It's just there's no comparison. Use this chart. By the way, this is another piece. When Compass speaks to, oh, we have these special buyers from New York City and all this other crap. Do you realize number one in New York City is corporate? Yeah. Anybody understand the relationship between us and corporate? Anywhere owns Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Commercial, Sotheby's, ERA, and corporate. We own some of the top competitors in the marketplace, including the number one brokerage in all of New York City. So, to me, I understand that, and this goes back to that transparency piece, I understand that, you can be on whatever side you want to be with when it comes to, talking about clear cooperation. I personally am middle ground, because I think that there needs to be clear cooperation, and what concerns me, I'm going to speak to this in a second, what concerns me more than anything is if clear cooperation goes away, all hell breaks loose. Zillow's going to go rogue. We are going to be one entity. And by the way, why do we have an advantage? Why is it that Coldwell Banker and Anywhere and all these companies have such an advantage over Compass and everybody else in the clear cooperation policy? Because of all this. We're able to take listings from all of these companies and put them into one. So if we have exclusive listings, all of these companies have exclusive listings and all of them get shared together. Why does that matter? Because now all these companies are going out and having a race to try to eat up inventory. We already have it. I'm not saying that exclusive look is better than the MLS, but exclusive look is damn sure better than Compass private exclusives. It's not even close. And I'll take it a step further, it's better than the field. Because nobody can compete in terms of the exposure we can give on an exclusive listing. It's not close. We blow everybody else out of the water. Be yourself, everybody else is taken. I don't care about being any of these other competitors. Don't only speak their talk tracks, but be prepared for them. Make sure you know what this looks like. And I want to speak to this last point. There's a couple more points, but we're getting there. Industry consolidation. As it pertains to clear cooperation, this is a major deal. What we're seeing is, talk about Zillow. Zillow's preparing themselves for this. They're starting to create what they call a super app. And their super app has all of these different components to get a consumer, get them to a closing table. What Zillow doesn't have are listings. They just don't have the listings. So if clear cooperation goes away, they're going to have to make a major pivot to try to get listings back. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's going to look major, trust me. So that's what they're doing. Now, the cool part about this is every company's trying to do this life cycle of let's bring in all these different services to make this work. We already have it. We already have it built. Integrated services, we have insurance, we have mortgage, we have title, we have all these different things. Everybody's trying to get to a place that we already stand in. We're already there. That's what the whole industry is trying to create, is they're trying to mimic us. And I'm going to take it a step further and pick on Compass some more. Why do you think Compass bought out properties in Christie? Because what they're trying to create is this. They know that if for whatever reason this switch gets flipped, immediately overnight, this is going to be a race for who has the most inventory. Hold on one second. That, given the fact that we already have it, we're prepared for either side of this equation. If it goes the way that it's going, great, we're ready for it. If it goes the other way, we're the best positioned for it. Now, maybe you guys have heard this, I promise you that. Maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't. Rocket just acquired Redfin for $1.75 billion. That's a big number for a company that's not profitable. I mean, it's crazy, but it's true. So this just happened. If you haven't watched it, Tim, I really appreciate you sending this to me. Tim sent me over Jared James. So Jared James did a whole video on this, and honestly I couldn't have said it better than he did, so I would watch the video if you're interested in this. But what he spoke to is, we're at a point in time, when it comes to Redfin specifically, consumers need to make a decision. Do consumers want real estate the way it's always been done, to work with the people in this room and build relationships and have somebody who knows, that has knowledge of the marketplace and can train you and teach you about everything that's going on in the community and all that? Or do you want to work with a call center? Because that's what's going to happen right now. Redfin, their whole thing, real estate might be a loss leader for them. Because now when they went out and were purchased by Rocket cares about mortgage, title, and all that. it's possible, and I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's very possible that they just decide, hey, we'll do the real estate side for free or for next to nothing. Because it's not profitable right now anyway. And if they could just drive consumers in and then just use it to give deals, probably not going to be free, but give deals away to get mortgage business, I mean, that could very much happen. Like, that's not off the table. We're seeing a crazy consolidation in this business. And, you know, you asked me before, Marvin, and I'm going to go back and answer this question. You said, who is pro-clear cooperation? Who wants it to stay? Every independent in the history of our country. If you're an independent brokerage and clear cooperation goes away, you're out of business. Like this, you're out of business. You're going to have a handful of bigger players, probably us, Compass, and Zillow, are who's going to be remaining. Like, and everybody else, they may stay for a period of time, but ultimately they're going to get crushed because they don't have inventory. If you don't have inventory, you got a problem. Like, you know, you have Keller Williams, they're independently owned and operated franchises. They're going to build a syndication between all these companies. Like, that'd be a mess. EXP, like, they don't even have an office to go to. Like, imagine trying to share listings between all these agents. Good luck. Like, you have a lot of problems in the industry with, you know, Real and all these other companies. That would be a nightmare for these companies. Why do you think, you know, EXP took such a strong stance of, like, I'd rather have it than not have it? Because if it goes away, you're in trouble. So it's not a bad thing for us. I think it's a bad thing for the consumer. That's where I think at the heart of this is I think it really hurts the consumer more than anybody. I'm going to do a couple more points, and you have a question that I missed?
Just quickly for exclusive now, like these why not combine everything now, put it on anywhere and have all those things combined now to get that more exposure?
If you go on exclusive listings, look rather, and you do a search for New York City, you're going to get all of New York City. Like, you actually go in there, you'll get listings from across the country. It's not just New Jersey. So there are syndicated all of that. You just got to go in and search for it.
No, I mean across the brand.
Right now, the reason they haven't done that today is because two reasons. One, franchise agreements. So some franchises may not want to do that. They would immediately flip-flop on that if clear cooperation goes away, just to be clear. But the other thing is, like, when you talk about like trying to create brand identity, it's good for a company like Anywhere to have independent brands because you're essentially selling franchises for McDonald's and Burger King. Like, so it's to have brand identity is not a bad thing in today's world because most of our inventory is used and syndicated through the MLS. If the MLS system goes away, they're going to change that immediately. It just makes sense. There's a industry group within NAR that's having a conversation about this. So it is a discussion in terms of what happens and all that other stuff.
I guess before seeing the numbers, I understood how this was, but now that I see the numbers, I don't understand the end game for something. If you want to have smaller, what is your end game?
I think the biggest thing right now is, I mean, one thing off the bat is if you can knock out the majority of your competitors pretty quickly, you do it. Like, and I think that's the thought process is they're big enough at this point where they don't have enough listing inventory in every market to be, you know, to make it work. But like, if you're able to have enough listing inventory in certain markets to make certain competitors go away, it helps. It just limits the field.
Wait, how does this not lose more love?
I mean, it goes both ways on that. NAR might get sued over this. So like that's a possibility. The flip side of it is, I agree with you, you're limiting, if you make everything go through exclusive like Compass is trying to position, like you might get lawsuits, more buyer side lawsuits, like you're limiting my access to listings and therefore it's a problem. The only thing that's different between what we went through and this is you gotta remember, that's an independent brokerage versus cooperating brokers. So there's a difference there because you're running your business internal to yourself. It's a little different.
So we're back to the buyer commission agreement, like you have a buyer commission agreement and there's a lot of exclusive access to them.
That's part of the problem that we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, but they still want to cooperate in these small markets because
For now,
for now.
that's the point. I mean, the point is, if this goes away, and if you think about it, I'm just making things up here, but I'm going to use us as the placeholder. In Westfield, New Jersey, we have 80% market share. Why would we share anything? If you have, right now, we barely share. Because a lot of stuff gets sold in-house immediately, but we still go to MLS with a lot of stuff. But the truth is if you have 80% market share, you just flip the switch and say you're not getting access to anything, and then what happens? One of two things. Either clients come to you, or clients get referred to you. Or agents leave to come to you. That's the third. That's what's happening. That means every other brokerage is done. There's no, that's kind of at the heart of this, is, you know, I think cooperation is what leads to competition, is what leads to a better experience for clients. Is the truth of it. So I'm a real estate guy. This is not about a corporation that I'm trying to feed. For me, I would rather that the marketplace have a better marketplace, as redundant as that is. Like, you know, I'd rather there be more cooperation. I'm going to skim off of this for 1 second and very briefly. I want you to start to kind of like embrace this thought process of when, not where. Because directionally, I do think that that's where the industry is going, and I do think that that's where we're going. And what I mean by when, not where is, are you going to have me sitting in Maplewood every Monday afternoon? Probably not. Like, but if you need me, when you need me, that's like definitely not. But like, if you need me and when you need me for business planning or for different purposes, like that's when you get me. And I think that the reality is like what we're doing across the board is creating a team of people to ensure that whenever you need someone or something, you have it. And you know, that's directionally as we add more people and more, you know, more resources to this. It's the concept of like, when you need something, you guys need to pick up the phone or seek us out, send an email, whatever it is. Because if you don't, you're basically going to feel like, you know, where are they type of thing. And it's not that you don't have a team behind you, you have a big team behind you. It's that you need to make sure that, you know, you're approaching us and saying, hey, I need this when I need it. So I'm not putting it on you, I'm just telling you, like, this is, the whole industry is going in this direction, because what's happening with real estate right now is the where is getting blurred. Like, it's, you know, operations are consolidating into one another, and, you know, there's more and more of, you know, a team approach to this. And I need everybody to, like, just think a little differently, because that's where everybody's going in this industry. It doesn't matter which place you're at. I didn't do this yet because I just added another member to the team. So, but I promise you, I will. I'm going to push this out. I half wrote this email, but the whole email is going to go out shortly. Okay. Is there anything else that I haven't touched upon that you guys want to talk about? I know I'm running a little bit late here, but no. All right, I'm going to touch upon two more things very briefly. Boot camp. One of the things about this, like, you know, when, not where, is like, when you need to grow your business, we want to be there for you. And the thought process is, there's a lot of people in here that are at a stage where I would love to build. We're coming out with, and what we've been developing for like the past like month or so is to like say, all right, let's have programs for whatever stage you are in real estate. We're going to have a program to kind of get you to the next level. And so I would caution you, or not caution you, I would plead with you to like just pay attention to some of the emails and some of the things that I'm going to be putting out, because I think that they're going to be really helpful for you. We're not like grabbing this from some random textbook. Like, we're developing this and putting it together based off of the local market and how we feel like we can help you grow. Go ahead. Hey, raise your hand. CD you're talking about? CD? Yeah, so I'm going to give you a two-parter to this. It's actually my next slide. I'm working really hard to get Mary Kano to do the courses for us. Like, she said she's willing to do it. We're just trying to like figure out how that's going to work and everything else. because we're so close to like where the licensing cycle is, I just needed an alternative to like make sure that like you guys have access to get this done. Chris Dixon has been really helpful on this front. We opened up a real estate school. We had a real estate school, just to be clear, but now our real estate school does 3 things that we were not able to do before. So one, CE courses. So at any point in time, there's like a drastic reduction in like if you go through us versus anybody else. It's not us teaching the CE courses; it's done through the CE shop, but we got like mass discounts. So you can do it online anytime you want through the CE shop. The other alternative is, or the other things that we added to this is if you want to get your broker's license, you can now do it through our school. And the third thing is if anybody in here has somebody that you want to bring into real estate, they can sign up. It's asynchronous. You can take it anytime you want. So it's not like, you have to, take it at this time of day, this class. It's all self-paced. And we'll pay for it. So if you have somebody that you want to be on your team, you have a spouse, a significant other, whatever it is, son, daughter, whatever, we're happy to pay for them, and that's kind of part of what we're rolling out. So I'll push out an email on that has some of the CE stuff in there. I'm going to compile another email that has like all the free courses that are available as well, so you'll have that. And I'm doing the best I can to try to set up Mary. I don't want to overpromise on that because I don't know. It feels like we're not in alignment there. Go ahead. Speak louder, please.
We have an attorney in the industry. Friday afternoon and Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon for all the courses that you guys have to take. So I can share that page on my call.
Yeah, you can share that.
You guys just pop in at our car and just take whatever class you need.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And it is free. Yes. Yep.
I'll probably
Sign up for your slot.
I'll probably do something at the local offices as well. And I promise, like, there's going to be more coming on that. I'm a little bit behind this year. I was just working on a bunch of other stuff. The last thing I'm going to put out, other than to thank you guys for coming today, is I got a really special treat for this next Growth Mastermind, which is next Wednesday. I got Ryan Schneider to come. Now, Ryan, for those of you who don't realize, is quite literally probably the most impactful or powerful person in real estate, residential real estate today, in the world. So I know he's our CEO, but he runs legitimately most of the bigger brokerages in the country. It's pretty cool that he's coming. And he's going to do a bit of a Q&A and just kind of talk about vision for the future and all of that. All right, so I would strongly recommend you come to that if you can make it.
I just wanted to add one thing to our background for the Maplewood office. That it's really important that everybody contributes. I would say at least $100. I don't know if people are paying attention to what's happening in our state, but the governor proposed a budget that includes adding. We have now the 1% mansion tax. They're talking about it here, 2%, 3%, 4% mansion tax. Yeah. There's all these shitty lead paint rules happening. Each town has different parameters, and RPAC was successful in just giving instrumentals, not single-family homes. We've had CO issues in many towns. RPAC is very involved in development and they're just pro-consumer, pro-real estate industry. So
I gotta tell you, I got asked years ago to serve on a state that's called Independent Expenditures Committee. It's a secret committee that they have specifically for RPAC. And it's a secret committee because those are the members of that committee are the ones that get to vote on where RPAC funds go. So you're not allowed to tell anybody you're on that committee so that there's not bias and people trying to pay you off for funds going in their direction. I served on it for a few years, and I gotta tell you, it is truly bipartisan. It has nothing to do with anything related to party lines. It is all about the realtor party and how we can protect you guys, and your licenses. It was a really good experience. So I'm pro RPAC. I think it's a big deal. I have to wrap this meeting up with one thing, and I'm just curious, and I'm done. Is you guys understand what clear cooperation is?
Yes.
You feel good about that issue, and you could speak to it?
Yes.
Do you feel like you changed your opinion, or do you feel you're in the same place than when we started?
I'm in the same place.
Same place? I wasn't trying to change your opinion. I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
But I did learn a lot.
All right. Thank you guys so much.